Las Vegas on Sunday. Another crazy one. I mean, you take them how you get them. I know you guys would tell us all the time, Jason, Waddle, your call, you guys would play. I don't think you ever look back and think, oh, we really shouldn't have won that game. Not to say that you can't learn as players where you got to get better. You'll take wins in this league. And it was ugly, but they got to win. And I feel like this team really needed it, and that was important.
Yeah, most definitely, man. A win is a win, and you'll take it any way you can get it. You know, we don't care if the win has a bow on it. We don't care if the win has we actually do care if the win has a diamond ring on it, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, right.
you just, especially on the road, it was good to see this team, you know, battle back from adversity and to get that first road win under their belt, under this new coaching staff. And like Coach Johnson talked about it truly was a character win, right? In which you had all three phases complement each other very well. You know, look at the defense, the takeaways, set up the offense in prime position to put points on the board. And, you know, those points didn't always come in the form of touchdowns. You know, majority of those came in the form of field goals. But then you look at special teams, the way they came through. Obviously, Josh Blackwell coming through for the block kick was led to the game winner. So it was awesome to see that all that played out in the Bears' favor. And it was good to leave Las Vegas with a W.
At the bye now, what do you think Ben Johnson and his staff are going to work on to try to find some answers in the run game?
Yeah, you got to go back and probably watch every single run, you know, and each position group, that position coach will evaluate each player, you know, whether that's DeAndre Swift, Carmen and Jurko, who hasn't had as many opportunities as a DeAndre Swift. And same thing with Coach Richard, the offensive line coach, is going to go through and look at his offensive line and see who's pulling their weight. They may look at things schematically and see what can they do better. I don't expect them to make wholesale changes just because you can't make a wholesale change in terms of the scheme in 1 week, you know, especially with the run game that you pretty much implemented since, you know, going back to mini camp and OTAs and obviously through training camp. So they just got to find ways to make themselves more efficient, but to find better ways to get this thing running, to get this thing going.
What's going to happen with the O-line? Do you think Benedette will be the guy out there on Monday night, a week from Monday night against the Commanders?
I think so. I think, you know, after going back and watching the film, and, you know, obviously Braxton has a lot of starts under his belt, so he has a lot of experience. But I think when you look at Theo Benedict and what he did, you look at the upside. And I think that's what, you know, these coaches are going to look at, the way he's performed, given the opportunity. It was good to see him and I to get reps against a Raiders D-line, but Max Crosby in particular. And I thought Theo, you know, going back and watching the film, I think he did some good things. You know, was he dominant every single play? No. You know, majority of the guys that play offensive line aren't. But I think when you look at his ability to kick and get in his pass set, I think he showed that. I think he showed, you know, the ability to really be able to anchor down in certain situations on a bull rush. So I think those are some of the things that when the coaches go back and look at the film, they're not just from last game, but in its entirety. And I'm sure they'll go back through training camp as well because, you know, Theo doesn't have a majority of as many snaps as Braxton Jones has. So, you know, they'll have to go through and look at all his snaps, joint practices included, to see, you know, where that upside can take them and is it that much better than Braxton. I think they will go in a different direction, you know, at that tackle position.
Why is this defense so bad against the run?
Man, you know, Jurko, I look at it, and you play defense, Jurko. You know, it's all about gap integrity, but it's one thing to be in your gap, but it's another thing to not be able to tackle, to bring that ball carrier down. I just saw, you know, Ashton Genty, yes, he's an elite back in terms of being able to break tackles. And you hear Kevin Byard, I interviewed him after the game, and he talked about his contact balance being so elite. But at the same time, it's the tackling, it's the fundamentals of tackling, right? And whatever type of tackle you teach, gator roll, you know, head on the ball, you know, tracking that your near shoulder, near hip, whatever form of tackling they're teaching, you got to get it done. And it's just, you know, it's just been unacceptable to give up that many yards against the Raiders, you know, rushing team that didn't really generate a lot of yards throughout the beginning of the season and had a coming out party against the Bears defense. So moving forward, I mean, yeah, you got the takeaways and you limited Geno in the passing game, but moving forward, you're going to play a lot of elite backs, and it can be a problem. So hopefully they get that corrected.
Do you think there's any lingering thought for some of the players in that building about what happened in Washington a year ago with the Commanders on deck coming out of the bye?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it is. You heard Caleb I think Caleb in his press conference talked about, it's payback. Obviously, we know what they faced last year. So I'm pretty sure that's something that you can't just erase. And going back to the same stadium, you want to say you kind of have football PTSD, understanding what happened, but it presents an opportunity under a new regime to go out there and to go up there and get a win and continue to move this thing in the right direction.
Yeah, I like maybe use it as motivation, like go out and get the revenge. And Tyrique Stevenson has played maybe the two best games we've ever seen him play, especially coming off of how bad it was in week 2 in Detroit. So back to the scene of the crime, maybe it's a great opportunity to see if Tyrique Stevenson can continue to perform at a pretty high level because he's really been good the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, he has. I mean, the way the season started and all the adversity he faced last year, including the Commanders game, it's been a breath of fresh air to see him play well, whether he's playing man, whether he's playing zone, have a firm understanding of the defense, but also making plays of the defense that has been missing. Obviously, Colin Gordon and Jalen Johnson. The Bears needed somebody to step up in the absence of those guys, and Tyrique's been that guy. So it's been awesome to see, and hopefully he continues to grow and develop and make more plays because that defense is going to need it.
What was the one thing you always look forward to when you got to the bye week in the middle of the season?
It just depends. It depends. Like, mostly just trying to resting your body, kind of getting a break, resetting yourself, getting away from football, but not getting away from it in its entirety because, you got to come back and, endure a long season. But it was always good to just kind of, I say, be a normal person, get to watch other games, be around your family on Sunday. So I know the guys are looking forward to that. But at the same time, some guys will go on vacation. I wasn't one of those guys, Carmen, to take a vacation like that because I think I don't know, it just when I'm on vacation, it just puts my body in off-season mode. And, I don't know how all the other guys are.
Yeah.
But, a vacation and say, you know what, I'm going to take a couple of days away from football, and then I got to go back to continuing to work out and, going back and looking at film and reevaluating myself and seeing where I can get better to help the team.
Did you ever go back to university?
No, that's a good question.
Because a lot of guys like to go back to where they played.
Yeah. Yeah, I did go back to my particular school and watch the young guys play and see how things are going. But I think I like that, though, because it keeps you around the game.
Yep.
And I think it also puts in perspective, right? A lot of guys, right? If you have the opportunity to play in the league for a long time, right, you tend to take things for granted, right? So when you go back to your particular university, it shows you what you came from. It shows you where you started, and it kind of puts a perspective in terms of what you have achieved. And, for me, I was an undrafted guy. I wasn't a highly touted guy coming out. It just, when I would go back, it just, it really helped me understand the journey and the goals I had accomplished. So it kind of reset myself and made me more hungry and say, hey, you know what, I've achieved this, but I'm here right now, but it's not where I want to end. It's not where I want to end up or how I'm going to finish. So I think it adds, an added motivation for guys to go back to their particular schools and see where they came from.
Have a good weekend, buddy. We'll talk to you next week.
All right, guys. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, JMack. There's Jason McKie every week with us on the